I'm tapping in, I'm tapping in, I'm tapping in, I'm tapping in. I'm back with another banger. Y'all already know what it is, man. Thank y'all for tapping in the Yocuzpodcast. Like I said, I'm dropping like 4 videos tonight. It's not a game. We talking about Uncle Trump, but I got some good news. They trying to shut the government down, but Trump is not trying to shut it down. So basically, he fighting for y'all. He fighting for y'all. He trying to. Hey, listen, they trying to shut it down, but Trump like, no, we ain't doing that. I'm not doing that to my people. So listen, PSA, I ain't gonna make y'all wait so long because y'all know I already started like 5 or 6 minutes late. So guess what? Let's tune in. Let's go.
Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican of Louisiana. Mr. Speaker, good to see you. Let's start with the shutdown talks. A few days ago, President Trump rejected even meeting with Democratic leaders, reportedly at the urging of you and the Senate Majority Leader John Thune. What changed?
Well, I had a long talk with the president yesterday, Jake, and, he feels the same way that I do about this. He's always open to discussion, but he wants to operate in good faith. So he decided to bring us all in. He wants to talk with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and just try to convince them to follow common sense and do what's right by the American people. Jake, it's important to point out the only thing we are trying to do is buy a little time. You know, the appropriators in both parties have been working very diligently over the last many weeks to work through the appropriations process. As you know, the law requires us to pass 12 separate appropriations bills and to be good stewards of American taxpayers' dollars. But that hasn't happened. It usually doesn't happen in Washington. Everything gets pushed to the end of the year right before Christmas, and there's a giant omnibus spending bill. Since I became Speaker, I've been trying to force back the muscle memory to force Congress to do its work,
and that's no lie, bro. Every time it's a shutdown, it's always by Christmas, bro. That is not a lie. That's a true saying, bro. Every time they ready to shut the government down, it always be by Christmas. When Christmas on the way, that's when they talk about shutting the government down. Then they shut the government down. Listen, do y'all remember the first time they shut the government down, bro? Nah, no bullshit, bro. People was killing themselves and everything, bro. For real, like people was shooting themselves in the head, going to kill people, robbing people, bro, because they shut the government down. I think that's the first time Trump was in the office when that happened, when they shut the government down. But listen, man, roll them J's up, pull that drink, we lit, because I'm giving y'all the lowdown of what's going on. Uncle Trump is not trying to shut the government down, y'all. He fighting for us, I guess. I don't know. Pay attention. We lit.
doing it. Jake, I'm delighted to tell you, in a bipartisan fashion, the appropriators have worked through 12 separate appropriations bills in the House committee. 3 are passed off the floor in the House. 3 passed off the Senate floor. Those bills don't match up exactly, so there's a conference committee between 2 chambers working as they're supposed to for the first time since 2019. But here's the problem. We run out of clock, because the end of this September 30th is the end of the fiscal year. So what we did was a simple, clean, continuing resolution. It's 24 pages in length. All it does is keep the government open so appropriators can continue to do this work. Together, bipartisan, Chuck Schumer came back with a long laundry list of partisan demands that don't fit into this process, and he's going to try to shut the government down. The president wants to talk with him about that and say, please, don't do that.
So at this meeting tomorrow,
Did y'all just hear that? Did y'all just hear what Donald Trump said? He just said that. Don't shut the government down. Donald Trump saying, don't shut the government down, y'all. Can y'all see? Y'all heard it. I ain't make it up. Y'all heard it. Trump taking up for us, I guess. Let's go.
is President Trump looking to make a deal, or is it going to be like when Michael Corleone met Senator Geary? My offer is this: nothing.
Well, look, we'll have to see, but I can tell you where his head and his heart are. He wants to do right by the people. He does not want the Democrats to hold up troops pay. You know, the people who are serving in the military, they don't get paid during a shutdown. He doesn't want WIC funding, you know, women, infants, and children nutrition program being held up. He doesn't.
Oh, I got it now, y'all. I got it. The reason why Trump don't want to shut the government down yet and not agreeing with it, because he got them troops out there. Because if they shut the government down, the troops not going to be able to work. That's what it is. That's what it is. That's why Trump like, oh, not right now. Don't shut it down right now. Hold up. Hold up. That's what he's saying. Hold up. Don't shut it down right now. Hold up. Now it's making sense. Pay attention.
Doesn't want telehealth and mental health and FEMA services to be stopped. That's what Chuck Schumer is holding hostage. Why? So that he can add $1.5 trillion in new spending at a time when we're simply just trying to keep the government going for 7 weeks so we can have those debates. It's wrong. He also wants to, by the way, what Chuck Schumer is demanding in exchange for all those good things I just listed, he wants to reinstate free health care for illegal aliens paid by American taxpayers. We're not doing that. We can't do that. That's just one of the crazy things he's requesting.
Well, I think he would take issue with that. Here is what House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries said on CNN Friday night about what he says Democrats are asking for, which is the continuing of the Obamacare subsidies being extended to American citizens only to prevent more than 1 million of those Americans joining the ranks of the uninsured. I'd like to hear your response. This is what Jeffrey said.
And all we're saying is let's find a path forward to actually fix the healthcare system that Republicans have broken for the good of everyone. They dropped this reckless partisan bill that continues to gut the healthcare of the American people, and it went down in flames. And so their bill is dead on arrival.
Is that demand for the continuing the Obamacare subsidies, is that even on the table tomorrow?
Look, that statement by my friend Hakeem is absolutely absurd. There is nothing partisan about this continuing resolution. Nothing. We didn't add a single partisan priority or policy rider at all. We're operating completely in good faith to give more time. The only thing that would gut health care, using his own phraseology there, is if we took Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer's demand here, because they want to cut $50 billion from rural hospitals. That's the new fund that we added in the big, beautiful bill, the Working Families Tax Cuts that we passed just a couple months ago. They want to gut that. They also want to hold up all this funding that I listed. I mean, the WIC program is something that we all champion for women, infants, and children nutrition. That would be held up. So it's exactly the opposite of what Hakeem is talking about. The Obamacare subsidies is a policy debate that has to be determined by the end.
Y'all see what's going on. I'm giving y'all this information. Make sure y'all pay attention. They said in 27 days, they're going to make the decision of shutting the government down. You feel me? So if they shut the government down, that means the troops is not going to work. Everything, no WIC, no nothing. Y'all got 27 days, man. Pay attention what's going on. Stop letting this other shit blind y'all. For real. Facts. I'm giving y'all facts. Y'all heard it first on the Yocuzpodcast show. We lit. Make sure y'all pay attention. This shit is serious. Y'all got 27 days. It's not a game. Get y'all life together.
The year, December 31, the December 30th, not right now, while we're simply trying to keep the government open so we can have all these debates.
So just as a point of fact, it's against the law for non-citizens to get those subsidies. And if they expire, Americans' premiums could jump as much as 75%, some experts say, and consumers could start viewing those higher premiums as soon as October. Are you not worried at all that those people might blame Republicans for those health care costs, for the insurance costs going up?
No, they're not being truthful about that, Jake. The program doesn't expire until the end of December, so we have time to have all those discussions and debates. But yes, it is illegal for illegal aliens to receive health care paid for by hardworking American taxpayers. But they're making the demand to change that. They want to add that back in. That's one of Chuck Schumer's primary demands, to keep the government open, and we're not going to do that. The American people didn't vote for us to do that. We're trying to clean up the system. So what they're demanding, they know is outrageous. They know it's far beyond the pale. And look, I challenge anybody listening to us, Jake, go pull this up. You will see there is nothing partisan in what we have passed and presented to the Senate. But Chuck Schumer is doing this for one reason. He is trying to get cover from the far left base of his party because they've been hammering him for not fighting Trump. So he's going to try to show that he's fighting Trump, but he has absolutely no logical basis for doing so here.
So just to be clear, there's not going to be any negotiation at this meeting. This is just going to be you and Thune and Trump telling Jeffries and Schumer, we're not giving you anything.
Look, I'm not going to get in front of the president and tell you what he will do, but I've talked with him, a couple of times, even yesterday. And I'm telling you where his head is. He wants to bring in the leaders to come in and act like leaders and do the right thing for the American people. It's fine to have partisan debates and squabbles, but you don't hold the people hostage for their services to allow yourself political cover. And that's what Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are doing right now.
Let's turn to the other big subject in the news here, having to do with the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey. Just looking at the principle at stake here, if you can remove Comey and Trump out of the equation, as a constitutional attorney and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, do you believe it's acceptable for any president to publicly or privately instruct their attorney general to prosecute a political opponent and go as far as firing a U.S. attorney if they don't bring charges because they don't think the case is strong enough?
I'm glad you brought up the principle. That is exactly what's at issue here. James Comey lied to Congress. Okay, he took an oath. He said things to Congress that were simply not true. It's called perjury. A grand jury that is not, a nonpartisan, non-biased grand jury that was assembled looked at the charges and they agreed, they voted to bring an indictment of James Comey. Not President Trump, not the DOJ, but a grand jury. That's how our system works. It's a very important principle for us to apply that.
They trying to shut the government down, bruh. They trying to shut the government down. Trump is trying to stop the government from getting shut down. Because if they shut the government down, that means there's no more troops to be out there in the field. Now they about to go over London. Like I just dropped the video that Trump got the troops going over London. Make sure y'all pay attention. All right? So now we only got 27 more days just to find out if they're going to shut the government down. Make sure y'all put that money up. It's not a game. All y'all hardworking men, y'all hardworking women, make sure y'all put that money up, man, because this is lit. I swear to God it is.
Everybody has to subscribe to the law, even a former FBI director. And he has lots to answer for. There are many things that he could have been indicted for, but the statute of limitations ran out on so many of those matters. Not here. Perjury is important. You can't, especially if you're a high official, appointed or elected official, you cannot raise your hand, take an oath, and lie to Congress. And that's an important principle, Jake, for us to advance.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but you didn't answer the part about President Trump putting it all out there for everyone to see on Truth Social after pushing out the U.S. attorney, this conservative Eric Siebert. He wrote to Pam Bondi, the attorney general, nothing's being done about Comey, Schiff, and Letitia James, even though they're all, quote, guilty as hell. The president demanded justice must be served now. He mentioned Lindsay Halligan, who is now the acting U.S. attorney. And Bondi clearly got the message. She appointed Halligan U.S. attorney, despite the fact she has no prosecutorial experience. A few days later, Halligan indicted Comey. I mean, this looks like it was directed by the president. As you know, indictments are not convictions. Indictments have to do with a grand jury saying whether or not a case can be brought. It's not a finding of guilt. The defense isn't even allowed to present a case there. Don't you have any qualms about any president telling an attorney general, go after these three political opponents?
I would take issue with that. I don't think that's what he did. But what I have qualms with, Jake, is the total and utter weaponization of the Department of Justice. And Comey was a primary person responsible for that. They quite literally, for 4 years under the Biden administration, turned the entire apparatus of our judicial system against one person. His name's Donald Trump. There's never been a political figure in the history of the world who was so maligned and attacked, certainly not using the legal system of his country to go after him in the way that they did. Every way possible. You and I would need 3 hours of a program to go through all the ways that they did that. They weaponized the DOJ. And so that's what Comey ultimately was the leader of and responsible for. He was one of the primary persons who did that. And I think if he lied to Congress about what he knew and when he knew it, then that is a matter that transcends politics. I think he has to be tried for that. And I expect that the jury in that case will determine that that's exactly what he did.
Well, this case is specifically about whether or not Comey lied about leaking information that what seems to have taken place during 2016, 2017, having nothing to do with Joe Biden. But let me ask you a question, because you talked about the weaponization of the Justice Department during Biden. Can you, because this is something conservatives bring up a lot, and I understand there was a special counsel investigating Trump, and there were cases in New York and all that. But can you explain how the special counsel investigating Hunter Biden during the Biden presidency, which resulted in...
Make sure y'all pay attention to what he's saying. Pay attention. This shit about to get real serious. Make sure y'all pay attention.
...in a criminal conviction, and the special counsel investigating into President Biden himself during the Biden presidency, which resulted in this incredibly damaging Her report. How do those investigations fit into the theory that the Biden era was one of Democrats weaponizing the Justice Department? Because they were also going after the Democratic president and his Democratic son.
They were not going after the president and his family. They did the bare minimum that they had to do to maintain the label on the door, Department of Justice. Okay, look, everyone knows this. This is not even a matter of dispute.
Hunter was going to go to jail.
President Trump, even when he was not president. Well, they went after President Trump criminally, civilly. They tried to just ruin him, destroy him, because they didn't want him to run for president again. I mean, there are volumes written about this, Jake, and you and I both know that that's true. And there'll be a lot of accountability, I hope, in the future to ensure that this kind of thing doesn't happen again. Comey has been on a tirade against Trump since way back then, since 2016, 2017. Remember, he famously walked on the beach and put 8647, implying that President Trump should be exterminated effectively, okay? It was a big controversy several months back, right? He has shown his bias, and they have used the Department of Justice against him. Remember all the former intel officials who signed the letters saying that the phony Russian dossier was real? I mean, everybody knows this. We don't have to relitigate it this morning. The point is the Department of Justice currently is doing what the Department of Justice should do, and they have to hold people accountable. We have to ensure that the rule of law applies to everyone, and that's exactly what's happening here.
Does the rule of law have to apply to people who stormed the Capitol on January 6th?
That's a good question.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. There's new information over the last couple of days about that as well. Apparently, there were 274 FBI agents in the crowd on January 6th.
No.
I think the total number of persons
Kash Patel just brought some enhanced understanding to that. They were sent there to do crowd control because of everything that was going on. It wasn't a false flag operation, as President Trump suggested.
Well, Jake, wait a minute. Hold on, Jake. How do you know that, right? There's a lot of questions, brand new questions about, well, and I'm telling you that there's videos, and it's always been disputed what involvement some of those persons, engaged in, what involvement they had. Did they spur on the crowd? Did they open the gates to allow them in? I don't know. These are questions, but they should be answered. And yes, there's a lot of investigation and discovery to go forward. We have a select subcommittee, bipartisan, a committee that...
No bullshit. They went hard when they went in the Capitol, bruh. They went so hard, bruh. They weren't worrying about the military people know nothing, bruh. They went in that Capitol, bruh. They ain't played no games. And them same people that went in that Capitol, all of them went over D.C. jail, then they came home when Trump came back to being the lawyer. It's not a game. Y'all better pay attention to this shit, what's going on.
Is reviewing the investigation of the original J6 committee. I mean, a committee investigating the previous committee. Why? Because there was so much bias in the system. And that committee was rigged, I think. And I think my theory is, I've always believed that they got rid of evidence and they hid some of this. So all of it's going to come out. The American people deserve full transparency.
Full transparency,
and that's what
100%.
Congress is working on, and that's what the administration is working on.
I'm always in favor of full transparency, including for the Epstein files, which that will probably come on the floor of the House.
Me too.
Soon, and we'll have lots of discussions about that. Speaker Johnson, always good to have you here. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it.
Joining us now, House Speaker.
Thank y'all for tapping in that Yocuzpodcast, man. Y'all know what it is, man. Like I said before, they trying to shut the government down, but Trump telling them no, right? The reason why Trump telling them no, because guess what? If they shut the government down, it's no more military people could be out here in these streets and know nothing, no WIC, no nothing, no nothing. Everything shut down. So y'all got 27 days, but Uncle Trump trying to stop them from shutting the government down. So get y'all life together, man. Make sure y'all subscribe, like, and drop a comment out of this episode. See you on the next one. Go.